The final week of Stage 3 is here. 4 spots are up for grabs in the Stage Championship. Who's in, who's out, and who'll win it all?
This is going to be popping off from the very beginning.
The Uprising continue their historic run. Can the Valiant or Gladiators end their 12-match winning streak?
Unbelievable! The Boston Uprising snatch victory from the jaws of defeat.
Mickey, Meko, Space, and Nevix break down D.Va in the latest installment of My Hero.
She has a very high impact on the game that's overlooked.
And the Fusion show us why eating right is an important part of being a pro in Overwatch.
A happy tummy kind of leads to like a happy player.
Plus, Striker and Gamsu reveal the secrets to Boston's success and the team they want to avoid during the title matches.
네, 저도 뉴욕을 피하고 싶습니다.
This is Watchpoint.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to MLG's Watchpoint. It's Puckett, you know Monty. We got Mr. X at the end and the brand new Brigitte main. Doa's here in the middle.
Hey man, we can stun tracers and...
Are you gonna turn your back on Zen?
Only in deathmatch.
You're gonna turn your back on Zen like that?
No, I'm not. I've been playing a bit of Brigitte, but I don't know. I still prefer Zen, but she's really fun.
He flirted with Moira as well, and he knew support Doa's all about it.
I've dabbled a bit, but I always go back to Zen.
I like it. All right, let's get into week 5, because that's what we're here for, right? The Stage 3 title matches will take place following this week's matches as usual, but some major changes to the format this time around.
Good changes.
The Stage 3 playoffs are almost here. We've seen stage finals like this before, right? Wrong. This time is completely different. The stage playoffs have expanded from the top 3 teams to the top 4 teams in the stage standings. For teams with the same record, the tiebreakers start with Stage 3 map differential, followed by head-to-head record. And if the 2 teams in question have not played in the stage, a tiebreaker match will be played to decide seeding. The stage playoffs consist of 3 best-of-5 map matches taking place on Sunday, May 6th. It all begins at 1 p.m. Pacific with the 2 semifinals, followed by the stage final later that day to crown the Stage 3 champion. And while the top team no longer has a bye straight into the final match, they now get to select their semifinal opponent from the other 3 playoff qualifiers at the end of Saturday's match broadcast. While the new rules bring added drama and excitement, the stakes remain the same. Endless bragging rights plus $100,000 to the winner and $25,000 to the runner-up.
Here's a look at the Stage 3 standings. Boston has already qualified for the first stage playoff berth, but they still have some work to do if they want that official #1 seed. There's 7 teams mathematically in the running for the 3rd and 4th seed. Right now, the Valiant hold the #3 spot, but they've got a tough week 5. Los Angeles will have to take on the Uprising in their 12-match win streak on Thursday. The Valiant will then play the final match of Stage 3 against the Philadelphia Fusion on Saturday. Let's start with that Uprising matchup, though, Doa. What is the biggest factor that could swing this one either way?
You know, I think a really interesting thing to keep an eye on with this is going to be the DPS on both teams and sort of the compositions they're able to sort of produce with the DPS that they have. Obviously, we know that Boston, aren't able to be as flexible as they used to. But if we look at a graphic that we've got, we see that they're not missing a whole lot. Really, they're only missing Faraz, the one that's really not on the list now for Boston. Obviously, that's going to hurt a little bit in certain maps, but in this meta, it's not the biggest thing. The Genji for mistakes maybe isn't the greatest, but overall, I think Boston, with what they've got, they're not doing too bad.
However, I definitely agree with you. I think that if we look at those hero pools, the fact that Mistakes plays Widow, Sombra, and Genji is absolutely huge. Because the thing about Valiant is when you see players in certain maps, they're telegraphing those strategies, and Boston has much more flexibility with Mistakes.
Kind of see it coming from far away. All right, now the Valiant are looking to make their first stage playoffs, and looking at that matchup against the Fusion, Mr. X, what is the biggest advantage that LA has over Philly?
I would say the Valiant have an advantage in terms of their tanks. Yeah, your main tank in Fate and your off tank in Space. I feel like they have a large advantage against most teams in terms of main tank play. I feel like these two really started to work together nicely. We knew what Fate was capable of, right? And then when Space comes into the lineup, feels like it's just elevated even further.
Space has the 6th best final blows to death ratio of any player in the league. But when we talk about DPS here, Monty, who's got the edge?
Well, I think we have to take a look at the Fusion DPS, again, for the same reason that we were talking about before. When it comes to the Boston Uprising's flexibility, the Fusion DPS, I think, are more flexible. You can see Snillo and Carpe together on a lot of these Tracer Widow maps. And then, obviously, we have EQO with such a huge hero pool. So they're much more flexible in the game. And you can't deny that Widowmaker performance, I think, has been much better from Carpe over this stage than it has been from Soon.
It's pretty darn good. I like it a lot. All right, the Valiant control their own destiny for the stage playoffs, but if any team slip up, it's the Houston Outlaws that'll be looking to return to the stage playoffs. Houston plays 2 other in-the-running teams as they get the feisty San Francisco Shock on Wednesday and the Seoul Dynasty on Saturday. So, Mr. Rex, let's start with that Shock matchup. Which team has the better main tank?
I think you have to say Muma right now, and I think a lot of people would be surprised how close it is between Super and Muma just in terms of their stats. If you look at some of the numbers, very close as players. See, Super has a lead in terms of hero damage, eliminations. I know they're a little bit in final blows about even, but it's the deaths for me. You see Super's deaths a little bit higher than Muma's, but he is playing on a pretty aggressive lineup with Architect, Dante, and Sinatra in the lineup. I think it's just if Super gets some more time and some more run and experience in that main tank role, he's definitely going to be up there as one of the better in the league.
I also see it as a difference in play style between the teams because Super's job, as a Winston, sometimes it's acceptable to have more deaths if you're dying for a reason. If you're dying to open up space for your DPS, then it's perfectly acceptable. Muma's he's a great tank, but he's very defensive. So he's not providing the same level of aggression and movement of space that we see from Super.
Yeah, it's just like how you would look at Houston as a team, right? They play a lot of Junkrat Widow. They're going to be a little bit more defensive with Sinatra and Architect and these guys who really like to get in there and cause a lot of chaos. You need your main tank to play really aggressive. Sometimes maybe you can go in a little bit.
Explain some deaths a little bit. All right. Well, the Outlaws lost 3-1 to the Shock in stage 2, but moving to that matchup against Seoul Doa, let's talk a little bit about how Houston could handle the Dynasty. Can they learn from any of the other teams that have beaten Seoul recently?
Probably, except that Seoul beat Philly recently. So I think Seoul may actually be on a little bit of a rebound here. But if we look at the map pools between these two teams, it's kind of interesting because only 1 out of the 4 maps that is being played, potentially 5 if we go to Oasis, has been played between these two teams before. That's Nepal, which I'd say Seoul, may have not the greatest chance on. Houston Outlaws, obviously a higher win rate on that one, 67%. Aside from that, you've got the dreaded Route 66 for Outlaws, which has been a little bit better lately, but still not their greatest map. This one, it's hard to say, honestly. Like, I'm having a hard time calling this one. I had a really hard time picking it. Although in the end, I think you could.
Seoul does dodge.
I may have slid there.
Seoul dodges Junkertown and they dodge Blizzard World in that matchup. So that's 2 big ones for the Outlaws.
Pretty lucky. All right. Well, the Outlaws beat Seoul rather easily in stage 2. So Monty, what can Houston do to get the same result this time around?
Well, they can play defensively, obviously, because that's generally what they do. But I do agree with Doa. It's going to be a little trickier on this map pool. But I think that we also can take a look at the Seoul supports, and they are not being protected. This has been a consistent problem for the Seoul Dynasty in stages 2 and 3, and diving them has been one of the most effective ways to shut them down. And you don't always need to dive them either. Frequently, they're left unprotected against heroes like Junkrat or Widowmaker, which we can see with a Riptide or a nice sniping shot. So I think there are opportunities if you continue to target that support line.
Definitely some tank protection issues going on.
I think. I
don't know why, but I feel like this match is going to have a huge impact. Both Houston and Seoul are both 4-4, and on the outside looking into the stage playoffs. 2 teams that are currently in, though, are going to meet up on Friday when the Los Angeles Gladiators take on the Boston Uprising. The Gladiators may need a win to stay in the stage playoffs, while Boston will still be fighting for that top seed. Monty, we've got some heavy-hitting tanks in this one, so which duo has the edge?
I think this is a really exciting matchup for tank players because I think the combination of Gamsu and Note and Fisher and Bishu has been absolutely fantastic. I think these are both in conversations for best tank duos in the league right now. Yeah. But I think on an individual level, I really like what Fisher's been doing. He has completely transformed the LA Gladiators with his aggressive style. And at the start of this stage, with the introduction of Sombra, he was going too far and getting hacked a lot of the time. But that's changed pretty significantly. Now, Bishu's accompanying him, so he can stop the Sombra hack at range if he's going to go in. And we can take a look at Bishu individually also because his stats have gone up pretty significantly right now. We look at stage 2 versus week 4. So last week you see increases in final blows, fewer deaths. he is integrating better with Fissure as time goes on. Probably part of that is Fissure learning more English, so he has to do less translation, can focus on his gameplay. But Bishu has been one of the better D.Va players this stage.
And a lot of people are saying, hey, is Bishu going to get replaced by Void when they made that pickup? Bishu's a mainstay here on the team. Mr. X, let's talk about the head-to-head matchups here. What individual battle are you most excited to see?
For me, it's going to be Surefour going against Mistakes. I think it's really going to be a test for Mistakes if he can play up to the level that Surefour's been playing at on Widowmaker. I think if Boston, comes out on the losing end of this matchup, they could very well lose the series, right? The Gladiators have a great backline with Chaz and Big Goose. The tanks, like Monty mentioned, were very strong. You're gonna need Mistakes have a big series here against Surefour, and he's been up and down on the Widowmaker throughout Stage 3 thus far. I mean, you can take a look at some of the stats here. I mean, Surefour dominates him in all categories.
Yeah, I think Mistakes has actually not been great on the Widowmaker, and that's not the primary driver behind Boston's success. It's Striker. But Asher also has been stepping up a lot recently. His harassment of support lines, his pulse bomb accuracy has been really, really good. So for me, it's how do they deal with Striker? Because if Striker can be dealt with, then Surefour should dominate the Widow matchup.
Well, if you look at the numbers, Widow has the second highest pick rate for DPS heroes behind Tracer, some key heroes for both teams. But let's talk about the supports here, Doa. In this one, who's got the better Mercy?
Well, the people would be expecting me to talk about the Zens, right? But let's actually talk about the Mercies this time around. It's kind of interesting stuff with these two teams. Let's look at the stats. You got Big Goose versus Kelix, of course. Now, Big Goose, he's actually 21st out of 23rd in healing done in the league. And we talk about how good this guy is. And he's definitely a playmaker, especially on the Lucio. But in terms of the Mercy, he's playing it very, very cautiously. He doesn't have as many deaths per 10 minutes as Kelix does. Kelix pretty low on that one, 15th in the league for deaths on a Mercy player. But Big Goose, with all that safety comes not a lot of healing, a lot for Shaz to kind of keep up on. But then again, if you're Gladiators, you're probably killing everybody so fast.
That's what it tells me. The fights are either going in their way very fast or they're all dead super fast.
Big Goose has a pistol out. We got to check those Mercy damage stats.
I also think, not to be overly harsh, but somebody has to be the worst player on these teams at the starting lineups. And I think that the worst player on both of these rosters is their Mercy player, unless Big Goose, of course, can transition over to that Lucio, which he can.
Commentary on Mercy mains?
Nope. It's
subtle read between the lines.
It's going to be a good match.
I think that's a big slam on Mercy mains for Monty. Yep.
All right. Well, 12 straight match wins, 8-0 and undefeated in Stage 3. The Boston Uprising haven't lost since March 9th. Yeah, March 9th. Now they sit in second place in the season standings. And as Gamsu and Striker tell us, it had nothing to do with luck.
Uprising, the hottest team in the league, without a doubt.
Your team is still undefeated this stage. What is giving those guys the edge?
A lot of luck, to be honest. I feel like we're playing pretty well and we're getting better, but at the end of the day, I think all the teams are getting closer, and a little bit of luck has helped.
그러니까 저희 감독님이 평소에는 되게 성격이 세고 막 자기주장 강력하거든요. 근데 왜 그런 부분에서 겸손하게 하시는지 잘 모르겠고.
그런 거 없이.
그냥 저희가 잘한 것 같아요.
But this is a squad, the true underdog story. They've come out from absolutely nowhere.
저희 이제 12연승 중인데 저희는 일단은 피지컬도 피지컬적인데 워낙 팀업도 진짜 좋고 그리고 이제 케미가 잘 맞아서 상대팀이 좀 무서워하는 것 같아요.
Boston sets the Overwatch League record of most maps won at the start of a stage.
사실 이기면 이길수록 좀 걱정이 많아지긴 하는데 요즘엔 좀 마인드 자체를 바꾸고 팀원들한테도 저도 되니까 좀 편하게 하자.
They've always been grinding hard. They've always been hard working.
사실 저희가 갑자기 확 달라졌다기보다는 이런 무대 경험이 부족했던 게 제일 컸던 것 같아요. 그런 거를 차차 극복해 나가고 익숙해지니까 저희 팀 스스로가 대회에서까지 잘해낼 수 있지 않았나 싶어요. 사실 경기 같은 거 골치 아플 정도로 다 생각 안 하거든요. 그냥 간단하게 발리언트 때는 남주가 캐리하면 될 것 같고 글래디에이터즈는 제가 캐리하면 될 것 같아요.
It's looking likely that they may be able to really be the first team to be undefeated in a stage.
저희 다음 주에 LA 두 팀 다 잡고 이제 최초 스테이지 무패로
그것도 기록해 실하고 싶고.
It's really wonderful to see all of that hard work coming to fruition now.
Bit by bit they scored out. They've done it. Unbelievable.
만약 저희가 플레이지 그 타이틀 매치에 1등으로 진출하게 된다면 최대한 뉴욕하고는 처음부터 안 맞붙었으면 좋겠습니다.
네, 저도 뉴욕을 피하고 싶습니다.
Here's a look at all of Striker's performances compared to the opposing Tracers he's faced during Boston's historic run. The standout stat here is the low deaths. If you compare it to the league's averages, he's easily better in every category. Consistency is the key when we talk about the Uprising's 12-game win streak, 12-match win streak. You often hear about guys we just mentioned in Gamsu and Striker, but their Zenyatta needs some love as well, and that's where we'll begin today's six-stack. Boston's Neko has quietly been crushing it with his Zen play during their 12-game run, and when you look at his numbers for Stage 3, you might be surprised to see he ranks second in hero damage done and offensive assists. He's also third in final blows and defensive assists, so Mr. X is Neko, the most overlooked support in the Overwatch League right now.
I would say that in terms of Zenyatta players. I think we look at so many of the other Zens in the league, you know, Jaehong, Jonak, Shaz, like these guys who are just getting these picks, these crazy plays, you know, your Badoshans as well. And Neko just doesn't really do that a lot of times. We're so focused on like Gamsu and Striker and mistakes that he just kind of gets lost in that conversation, but he is a tremendous Zenyatta player.
At number 2, we have the boys from the Bay who had a lot of hype coming into the Stage 3, and that, of course, is Sinatra and Super finally joining the lineup. But are they living up to the hype here? After a strong 4-2 start, they dropped their last 2 matches, and Super's Winston stats are below average in most major categories. D.Va, did we overrate Super as a main tank?
It's hard to say right now. I think he's certainly not performing great at the moment, but you know, we've heard it before, when these new players come into the teams, there's sort of a honeymoon period where things seem to play well because everyone's just kind of happy to have the change and it's fun to just sort of see how things work out. But then as things get serious, you know, it seems like every one of these newer players slumps a little bit 2 or 3 weeks in. And so is that just Super experiencing that right now? Or is this indicative of kind of a larger problem with San Francisco's Shock? I think one thing for sure, though, is that the shot calling and the coordination of this team has improved with him in the lineup regardless of his individual stats.
Throw the rest of the numbers aside. I like it. At number 3, the London Spitfires seem to have moved away from the musical chair strategy. They've used the same lineup in 3 straight matches. So, Monty, does London finally have it right with their current lineup?
No, Puckett, they don't. And that's only because we haven't seen Birdring in this lineup. Do they have the right idea? Yes, stop playing musical chairs. That's not a viable roster strategy. And they have been doing better. Even Hureg was stepping it up a lot during their San Francisco win. But match to match, I think we've seen these guys get better. I like the combination of Badoshan on closer. I think that's on paper their best support duo. But we need to see Birdring get over his wrist injury, get back into this lineup. And then I will be sold on London.
Bring the little guy back at number 4. The Valiant started Stage 3 on fire thanks to the integration of Bunny. But they've lost 2 of 3. Their map record in that span with Bunny in the lineup is 3-5. We looked at Bunny's numbers and wins versus his losses in the recap show, and you can see clearly there's a bit of a drop-off in his production and an increase in deaths. Monty, should the Valiant use soon more on Tracer as they did earlier in the season?
I think with Bunny, he's a player that will destroy weaker teams because he's independent. He'll go into the back line. He has very good Tracer mechanics and can pick off those supports. I also think that the map win-loss ratio is a bit deceiving because there were times like on Volskaya when they played Bunny and Agilities together, which telegraphed a Genji Tracer dive and was frankly a bad strategy on that map, which caused them to lose, and that wasn't really Bunny's fault. But I would like to see, I think, if they want to play dive, going with Soon Agilities more often, because that was a great combination for them. And I think Soon, he plays objectives better, and he can bail you out of situations that Bunny is not really going to be able to help with because of, I think, communication barriers currently.
Let's keep it rolling. Celebrating with your team on stage after winning a map is totally natural, but unfortunately, we've seen quite a few unnatural handshake moments in the Overwatch League this season. With the amount of coaching these players receive, D.Va, would you recommend the teams look into getting a handshake coach?
You know, I think it's more miscoaching than requiring that coach at all, right? You have to know which of you guys are handshake guys, which are fist bump guys, which are high five guys. You have to identify the strengths of the players on your team. Clearly, that's not being done. Although when it comes down to it, I think you have to blame this on Malik and Seagull, the source of all the handshake woes in Overwatch. Can't forget that.
Great point right there. Let's keep it rolling. The sixth and final question on the stack. After making it to the Stage 2 finals, Philadelphia have seemed to have regressed, boys. We've talked about Fraggy's up and downs this season. The Fusion will get Sato back from suspension for Stage 4. So, Mr. X, are we going to see Sato start over Fraggy in the future?
I think it all depends on what kind of meta we go into. If the next meta is really Reinhardt heavy, I think you would see Fraggy stay in. If it's on Winston more, I think they'll probably try and work Sato into the lineup. I've heard he's a great main tank. You know, he's been playing a lot with the Philadelphia Fusion B team. So I think you will see some Sato in Stage 4. If it's a lot of Winston, if it's Reinhardt, expect them to go with Fraggy.
Getting ready for the Overwatch League matches means more than just preparing for your opponents. Teams also have to pay attention to their player health and nutrition. We visited the Fusion's house to learn about the importance of a good diet for Overwatch pros and to meet their talented nutritionist, Chef Heidi.
Philadelphia Fusion came out swinging. This is my most exciting team to watch. The individual skill has been off the charts.
The best from the West.
The Philadelphia Fusion stand on the precipice.
The Philadelphia Fusion have just shocked the world.
I think I lighten the load a little bit around here. So I'm the team chef and I curate their dishes and their menu and what they're gonna eat so that they can have mental endurance during the games and during their practice. And I put like my attitudes and emotions into the cooking too, so that maybe they'll have a positive attitude and emotion. These guys are really into light and healthy food, so I made a Buddha bowl today with brown rice, quinoa, sesame soy, beef, broccoli, roasted mushrooms. We've got folks from Spain, France, Israel, Korea, Scandinavia. I mean, from all over. So it's a challenge to bring everyone together over something that, you know, everyone's going to enjoy.
Chef Heidi was kind of the last piece we really needed here at the house. Having that a couple of times a day where all the guys get together and really get to enjoy fresh, delicious food. A happy tummy kind of leads to like a happy player, honestly. And these guys are young, and I think food is like just one of the most important things for them. You know, these guys are they're trying to eat well while losing weight somehow.
Like we get a good breakfast / lunch. They help us like start the day well. Get some good energy going on in the scrimmage.
I think that if they stick to a better diet and more nutritious food, that they're not going to have burnout. They're doing something that's highly focused and highly mental. And if they can have nutritious food, that will help them in the long term.
She's like the mom of the team. She's always awake the first one, and yeah, we love her.
I feel like it's a family. You know, all these guys are from all over the world. They left their families and they've come to be a part of something big for them in their career, but they also have this atmosphere of being in the house. As unique as it is, it's a family here and we treat each other like brothers and sisters.
Incredible, nutritious food, but also remember Poca loves his Pop-Tarts. Now, the Fusion are currently hanging on to the sixth and final season playoff spot. They'll need to regain some of that momentum they had back in Stage 2 if they want to stave off teams like the Houston Outlaws and the Gladiators. Meanwhile, at the top, the New York XL are closing in on clinching their playoff spot with an entire stage still left to play.
I'm the Boston Uprising. If I keep my win streak going, I'll get to select my opponent for the Stage 3 playoff semifinals. I know the NYXL will be the toughest option, but I did beat them earlier on this stage. It's natural to think the 3rd or 4th seed might make for an easier match. Who should I choose?
Hey Uprising, I'm so proud of you. Things are going so well with your 12-match win streak. you should lean on your own momentum and select whoever is the 4th and lowest seed. The path of least resistance is the path to happiness.
Don't listen to him, Uprising. You've got something to prove. Be a big boy and choose to play the NYXL first. You're tough, right? Prove it and take out New York for the 2nd time this stage.
No, that sounds much too hard. Play the lowest seed, Uprising. You can have a nice, happy semifinal match and guarantee yourself at least $25,000 by making the stage finals. Plus, New York might even lose in the semifinal to whomever they play.
Listen to this idiot. New York might even lose. Yeah, they might lose. To you, Uprising, when you pick them for the stage semifinal. What kind of a name is Excelsior anyway? Take them out and clear your path to the stage 3 crown.
We all think NYXL is going to win the whole stage, right?
Oh, yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
no,
Yeah, no doubt.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I'm the Houston Outlaws. I've had an up and down season, and lately I've been experimenting with using my new main tank, Fact Fiction, over my Winston mainstay, Muma. Fact Fiction is looking like a better offensive weapon lately. He ranks higher in final blows and hero damage per 10 minutes, but I'm reluctant to upset the team dynamic by benching Muma. I'm not sure who I should play more at main tank.
Houston Outlaws, play the new guy. The fact is, he's more offensive, which is exactly what this team needs. The only fiction here is that benching Muma will upset the team dynamic.
Oh, Muma is your team's heart, and you can't replace that. Plus, he has the least deaths in the league as Winston this stage. You can't help your team if you're dead. Plus, he's super nice. Stick with Muma.
Death, Schmetz. It's easy not to die when you're not attacking anyone. What you guys need right now is fresh energy and more offense. Move over, Muma. There's a new monkey in town.
If I play Fact Fiction, can I make the stage finals again?
Unlikely, but I might be willing to make a deal. A tracer main for your soul.
I'm the Shanghai Dragons. My 0-28 record means I also have 28 straight losses. The record for most consecutive losses by a professional sports team is 28, set by the Philadelphia 76ers in 2014. One more loss, I own that awful record. Should I win my next match against the NYXL, or should I set the record?
You should definitely win. No one wants to be remembered for losing the most. New York will be focused on the playoffs. You can do this!
No, lose. Set the record. You'll be remembered forever. Who cares if it's a negative win streak? All press is good press. Keep the streak alive.
You should never set out to lose. Besides, you almost got a win against Philadelphia last week. That very city owns that awful losing streak record. Beat the Excelsior and start a new streak, a winning streak.
I will. I'm gonna beat the NYXL and never lose a match again.
Good luck with that.
It's really good to have a really good D.Va player on each team. I think that's a requirement.
There is no hero similar to D.Va. D.Va can be aggressive and support at the same time. Depends on what you want.
Clutch play from Mickey on this D.Va. One of the best out there.
보통 챔피언들이 못 가는 경우에 D.Va는 갈 수 있다는 그런 장점을 가지고 있고요. D.Va의 부스터는 일단 D.Va의 이동기고요. 어디든 갈 수 있게 만드는 스킬이죠.
She has a very high impact on the game that's overlooked.
Space making his presence felt in a big way.
It's almost good in every composition and every map.
When I play D.Va, okay, when the fight starts there, I can join anywhere.
the most important thing about defense is managing and tracking other enemy teams' ults, like Tracer Pulse Bomb, Zarya Grab, Mail, like high impact ults that can change the fight.
Space with the monster self-destruct.
디바의 일단 궁극기는 자폭이라는 스킬이고요. 진영 붕괴를 시킬 수 있는 아주 유용한 궁극기입니다.
You can use your self-destruct in a couple different ways. You can use it to zone enemies off a point. You can use it to make plays and combo it with other abilities and get a lot of kills.
Nevix brings the house down.
It's fun, especially when you see the kill feed blow up and the crowd goes crazy.
Oh, Nevix! The boom boom room.
There's a lot of really good D.Va players. The best D.Va player might be Fury on London Spitfire.
리그에서 가장 디바를 잘한다 생각하는 선수는 일단 런던 스피파의 퓨리 선수고요.
Fury, he manages playing with his backline and playing with his front line really well, and he almost always eats gravitons and pulse bombs like consistently.
Fury with the counter.
Poco is very good as an aggressive D.Va.
Poco with 2 more kills on the D.Va ult.
I think Nevik is very good too. Mako is the best as like defensive D.Va.
Oh, Mako! Monster self-destruct. He just blows up the smithereen.
Knowing that you can still hit like a fat D.Va bomb against really good players can change the whole swing of a fight.
Space though, a big double self-destruct on Silkred and Fisher just after he was brought back into the fight. That was the edge the Valiant needed here.
It's amazing.
Right now, nothing can replace D.Va. No matter what, people are gonna keep playing D.Va.
There's a look at my favorite hero in the game, and here's a look at the top divas in the Overwatch League in terms of final blows and least deaths. Space at the top of the list for final blows. Both Uprising Flex tanks are on the list as well. Also, Space and Meko are top 5 in not dying, along with London's Divas and, of course, Fusion's Poco. Okay, it's time for predictions, and for the first time this season, we have a new leader here. Mr. X getting the job done in week 4.
Are you surprised?
I already won this season because I held on to the lead for almost 3 complete stages.
The good news is
Monty's trying to change the rules.
You're still in second place. Dill is still 2 points behind.
Only one behind now. The gap is closing.
That's right. So let's take a look at where you guys are going this week. On Wednesday, pretty boring stuff. You all have the Philadelphia Fusion over the Dallas Fuel, and the Gladiators holding off their spot for the stage playoffs as they face off against the Mayhem. Now, in our third match, D.Va looking to gain some ground here as we're picking the San Francisco Shock over the Houston Outlaws. So, D.Va, defend your pick. You got the Shock.
Go ahead, hey, you remember what happened last week when nobody said Seoul beat Philadelphia? Guess what happened? Seoul beat Philadelphia. You know what? You got to make some bold predictions sometimes to take the win. Matt, you know that. You took the lead for once this season.
I did.
You're not going to keep it for very long, but I respect that effort.
Look, the Outlaws are going to play a very slow composition. The Shock are going to continue to dive and be way too aggressive and go into it, and then Junkrat is going to
It's not a great Junkrat map pool. Come on, there's even Route 66 in there. This is not a good map pool for
It'll be
Houston.
over before Route 66.
I don't think that's going to happen. I think this is going to be the second week in a row. We'll see if Reinforced calls me out this time.
We'll be on the 3-1 victory.
We'll be back here next Monday, and we'll be 3 behind.
On Thursday, everyone thinks San Francisco will beat Florida. You all like the first place Boston Uprising over the third place LA Valiant, and everybody played it safe by taking New York Excelsior over Dallas Fuel. Boring, boys, boring.
I almost picked Florida. Almost.
Oh, did you really?
Almost, but I'm like, these guys are going to be so tired after
why
beating
don't you
Houston
switch?
that,
Why don't you switch?
No, they're going to be so tired after. See, the thing is they have the last game of the day against Houston, then they have the first game of the day against Florida. So
Gonna be tired.
I thought, they're going to be tired. But
Understood. Hey, props to you looking at the schedule. Now, we normally like to get your stage champion picks, but as you mentioned in the Over My Shoulder segment, you guys are all sticking with NYXL, right?
I think
naturally.
So. Yeah. I think I have the Gladiators beating Boston. And then that would put NYXL in first. I think NYXL actually picked Boston to play.
What?
I think we'll end up with a NYXL Gladiators final.
I think that's actually sort of likely. I mean, the thing to remember about Boston in this win streak is that they have had extremely close games, and I think they should have probably lost 1 or 2 by now. I think I agree with you, Matt, that Gladiators is going to be the
Gladiators, NYXL.
And then the map differential will put NYXL into first place.
You guys are special. That's not how it's going to play out at all. Remember, 125 grand up for grabs on Sunday, 5 days of matches, and that's going to do it for today's show of Watchpoint. Make sure you check out all of the action. It kicks off this Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific on OverwatchLeague.com. And, of course, the Overwatch League app. Thanks for watching.